Hey Clashers, Electro Dragons are one of the easiest troops to get started with, but one of the hardest troops to master. And today, we're going to take a look at the top 3 use cases and how you should play the Electro Dragons. We're going to start with the number 3 use case, going for number 2 and number 1 then at the end of the video. So, let's get started to learn more about the blue dragons. Let's go. And for this army, it might look like, iTzu, where is the Electro Dragon? Well, it is inside the siege machine. We're talking about an Electrone. Electro Dragons typically always need a lot of spell support. And this is why we're starting with the Electro Dragon inside the blimp to support it with a lot of spells. A rage, even clones, and some invisibility spells to make sure that they can stay alive a little bit longer inside the core. What we're aiming for with this type of blimp is always some type of area to take that out, especially with high hit points nearby, because with those high hit points, you can get great chains and make sure that half the base is already gone. What is important about this for this specific strategy with the dragons and dragon riders as follow-up? Well, dragon riders and dragons do not need that many spells as a support. We have the rage gem to support them, and that's pretty much enough already. So they can push around all this entire side to get towards the town hall without that much support. This is why we're picking a different troop as a follow-up and not go with Electro Dragons right after. Equipment-wise for this specific strategy, we're having on the Warden the Rage Gem and the Eternal Tome. Great synergy, great combination for attacking with the dragons. On the Archer Queen, we have the classic whenever we're attacking with air, it's like Giant Arrow, and the Healer Puppet is an amazing combination. The same as for the Barbarian King. Earthquake Boots are helping you to enter into the base, open up compartments if you have to, and at the same time that the Spiky Bolt deal a lot of damage and snipe down defenses and create even better pathing for your dragons. On the Royal Champion, we are bringing the Spear with the Shield. This is amazing to snipe air defenses on the back end. For example, for us on this specific case, it was 1 and a second air defense to take that out with that Royal Champion. So it's on the back end always a great support. For this one, we're going to finish this base quite easily. Going to get the 3-star just because we had an amazing opening, and this strategy is going to have even more value on the middle and lower town hall level. Because when you have inside a blimp an Electro Dragon, which is a little bit of a higher level than what you can usually get because you're using a blimp, right? If you have an active clan, you should get a quite high level, or at least higher level than what you normally have, and this is going to give you a lot of value. This is not the case anymore if you're playing Town Hall 16, for example. This means it's more effective for the middle town hall level. But this is what we're going to get to the number 2 spot of the most useful Electro Dragon strategy. So, let's take a look. And we're talking about the most classic Electro Dragon spam. This one is pretty much how most people are starting with this troop, like with this attack strategy. It is super simple to get into, but it's not easy to master. Because what you have to learn is the spacing on where you can get those chains in and everything, and that is quite important. As well, equipment-wise, we're going with the same on the King, on the Queen, and on the Royal Champion. On the Warden, though, we're going with a little bit of a different equipment combination, and as well with a different pet. The reason for this is pretty simple. You want to have the Electro Dragon being the carry. The Electro Dragon has to attack. That is important. And for us right now, that is the important thing with not bringing the Rage Gem, which means my Warden would deal more damage, and that would result in more beatings going down. And my Electro Dragons shooting less likely, which means there are less chains in general. The same thing goes for the Owl. The Owl as a pet in combination with the Warden, and especially the Rage Gem, can deal a lot of damage, which in most cases is great. But for our Electro Dragon army, we want to have them attacking non-stop, because this is the important chain. The chain from the Owl is like a pretty bad joke compared to that. So this is why we're bringing the Phoenix with the Healing Tome on the Warden. Otherwise, you can see again, this is not even close. This attack strategy is just insanely powerful and has many use cases. Going even with those high hit point troops into the town hall is not going to be any problem because, again, you have the Healing Tome. You can take a couple of shots onto your Electro Dragons and then use that tome to heal them back up while the Eternal Tome is active for you. The Arrow then can take down sweepers. If you have it maxed out, you can even take down air defenses to make your life way easier to push through the base. But with this being the number 2 position, the question now is, what is the best possible use case of Electro Dragons in Clash of Clans? Let's take a look. And first you might think, iTzu, that's the same army. Yes, it's more about the play style on how you should play Electro Dragons versus most bases. And that is in a surgical way to set up your main push of Electro Dragons. What we just did is pretty much we just put all of the Electro Dragons in, hope for the best, and that's it. And while you still have a lot of control for your Electro Dragons with freezes and rages, this is even more controlled. First off, we took down the air defenses and cleared everything behind. Now we're using 2 Electro Dragons with a rage to clear the entire top side. They're now going to fly even further in, trigger traps, trigger the spare towers, and make our life later on way easier. Because the next step for us is going to be clear this side, again with rage. Don't hesitate to use rages with a couple of single Electro Dragons. And then we can place the remaining Electrons from the top side. But we have set up the base in a way that there is, first off, no chance of our Electro Dragons going to the outside, because we have this side cleared, we have this side cleared with our heroes. And take a look at this. Now all of those buildings in the middle, they're just going to get demolished. And this is what I mean with surgical Electro Dragons. You can as well combine some other troops in there, like Rocket Dunes and other support troops if you want to. But overall, you can use pretty much the exact same army composition. It is all about on how you utilize those Electro Dragons, and this is what I mean when I'm saying you can master Electro Dragons as well. It's easy to get into, it's a super easy to get started with, but mastering them is not easy whatsoever. There's a lot to learn about them, and some things like the basics of like, hey, they cannot chain from this building to this building because there's a 2-tile gap with their chains, while they could, for example, chain this if there would be only a 1-tile gap. So there's a lot of things mechanically which you first have to learn, and then you can really deep dive into the later stages of this strategy of this troop in general. In this one, we were even able to swag the Royal Champion. I mean, that's just crazy. And this is as well one of the strategies where you can actually swag your heroes most with. Which means, if you're actually having heroes under construction, Electro Dragons are one of the best troops to actually still play the game and have somewhat of a decent success. Obviously, heroes being right now the strongest thing in the entire game, so having them under construction means that whatever you're going to use feels weaker for obvious reasons. But with Electro Dragons, you're still going to have great success because they themselves are just so powerful, and if you pick the correct angle and you get the correct chains in there and you rate your Electro Dragons at the correct time, one chain and already a big part of the base is gone. So this is why it's so important about the spells, why this strategy is benefiting so much from the correct spell placement like rages or like freezes to keep maybe even one Electro Dragon alive. But if that one Electro Dragon is raged up and is like firing on the correct defenses, it has so much impact. So that's my top 3 use cases for Electro Dragons. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching as always. I will see you guys back tomorrow with the next class video. Until then, see ya and bye bye.